Ah, welcome, viewer. Names. We all have one. Some of us have several, particularly if you were an Englishman before 1066, when names sounded like something you'd yell when stubbing your toe, such as Leofwine, Alfwine, Seward, and Morcar. Yes, they were less John and Henry and more sounds of distress. But then along came the Normans in 1066, and they decided the English needed a rebranding. Out went the old Anglo-Saxon names, and in came Robert, Walter, Henry, and of course William. So many Williams that in fact by 1171 there was an actual feast where only knights named William were allowed in, a festival of exclusively Williams. One can only imagine the chaos of introductions. William, meet William. Oh, have you met William? He's sitting next to William. Now, if you were an unfortunate chap with an old English name in Norman England, you were in for a rough ride. One poor boy from Whitby named Tostig changed his name to William just to avoid being bullied, because nothing says social survival like surrendering your entire identity. The lower classes clung to their ancient names a little longer, people like Soin, Reynold, Aylwin, and Orm, who all probably thought William sounded terribly pretentious. But by the 13th century even they had given in, and suddenly every Tom, Dick and Harry was, well, actually, Thomas, Stephen and Henry. The Normans also gave us surnames because apparently one name wasn't difficult enough. But it wasn't as sophisticated as it sounds. If you were named Roger and you were a cook, you were called Roger the Cook. If you were from Derby, you were Roger of Derby. If you were particularly unfortunate, you were Roger with the big nose. And if you were deeply, deeply unfortunate, you were Roger the Effeminate, which, frankly, sounds like something schoolchildren would write on the back of your tunic in chalk. Occupational names stuck around, so that's why we have smiths, millers, carpenters and brewers today. But some people, when given the chance, upgraded. In 1455, one Matthew Oxer changed his name to Matthew Groom upon gaining his freedom. Because let's be honest, some people would rather not be named after a cow. And speaking of questionable names, meet Henry II. Born in 1133, he became king in 1154 and is best described as a man in need of a fidget spinner. Man, he couldn't sit still then, ever. Even at Mass, he'd be whispering, fidgeting, gambling or plotting to crush his enemies. And he had a court jester named Roland the Farter, whose entire job was, yes, you guessed it, to fart for the king's amusement. What a career path. Enter Thomas Becket, the frenemy to end all frenemies. A sharp, charismatic statesman who ran England's government like a medieval West Wing. He was Henry's right-hand man, until Henry had the absolutely genius idea to make him Archbishop of Canterbury in 1162. Big mistake. Huge. Because the moment Becket put on those robes, he became holier than thou, literally. He suddenly rejected Henry's rule over the church, defied royal orders, and refused to let clerics be tried in secular courts. Henry was livid. So in 1164, Henry threw an absolute fit and introduced the Constitutions of Clarendon, basically saying, "I'm king, I make the rules, now behave." Becket agreed, then immediately changed his mind, fled to France, and spent 6 years sulking. Henry retaliated by confiscating Becket's land, kicking out his friends, and turning England into the medieval version of a high school drama. Finally, in 1170, Becket returned. Henry, now raging beyond all reason, supposedly screamed, "Will no one rid me of this turbulent priest?" or something to that effect. 4 knights took this very literally and rode straight to Canterbury to kill Becket. On December 29th, 1170, Becket was in the cathedral when the knights arrived. They demanded he leave with them. He refused. They told him he was a dead man. He still refused. And so, with all the subtlety of a battle axe, they hacked his skull open right there on the altar. The locals, ever practical, immediately started bottling his blood and selling it as Becket water, the original medieval snake oil. Henry immediately regretted everything. The whole of Europe was now pointing at him, screaming murderer. So in 1174, he performed the ultimate apology. walking barefoot to Canterbury Cathedral, getting publicly whipped by monks, and spending a night praying at Becket's tomb. It actually worked. England forgave him. His enemies were mysteriously crushed. And Becket, he became a saint. At some point in the future we will explore this further. For all his tantrums and accidental martyr-making, Henry II actually gave us the foundation of English common law. He standardized courts, established juries, and created the legal system we still use today. Sadly, his own life ended in betrayal. In 1179, his son Richard, yes, the Lionheart one, rebelled against him, and his other son, John, also stabbed him in the back, metaphorically speaking. His last words? Shame. Shame on a conquered king, probably wishing he'd picked better heirs, or at least one less Richard. So, dear viewers, what did we learn today? The Normans changed English names forever. So if you're called William, blame 1066. If you're called Roger with the big nose, blame bad luck. Henry II was a man of action, by which I mean he spent his life fidgeting, yelling, and making very regrettable decisions. Thomas Becket was the medieval equivalent of that one friend who suddenly finds religion and won't stop arguing. It did not end well for him. Medieval people would bottle literally anything and call it a miracle cure. Becket's blood water? Sold like medieval Gatorade. If you accidentally get a saint murdered, just do a barefoot apology tour. Works every time. Henry II, for all his drama, actually gave us the English legal system, which, funnily enough, he would have absolutely hated using himself. And that, dear friends, is the saga of English names, royal meltdowns, and one very unlucky archbishop. Until next time, keep your heads on, won't you? Like and follow for more history drenched in sarcasm and existential dread.